Hey guys, and welcome back to another Hobby Spotlight, a series where we feature different hobbies, hopefully to inspire and educate and share the joy of the aquarium hobby with as many people as possible. Alright, today's video is brought to you by Dr Bassleer Biofish Food. Enjoy the video, guys.
The placement is quite determined by scale. So for example, if the plant has very large leaf, you cannot put it in a position where it's supposed to look like it's far away in the background.
Right.
Yeah, so the center third, you almost would not, where the sense of scale is supposed to stretch towards the back of the tank, you cannot use large leaf plants. That's why everything in the center third is smaller leaf, even the ones to the front. But the side you can use slightly larger. For this particular one, I basically attained a few nice rock pieces that I wanted to display. And they are tilted at an angle to give a bit more movement and dynamism, and also cast shadows in certain areas to contrast with like the lighted path. I think my main idea for this tank was that I wanted to show off some of the nice bunching stem plants. It's not a very complicated layout. My name is Dennis Wong and I am 35 this year. I think most of you will know me from my website, advancedplanted.com, and one of the commercial things that I do is I sell planted fertilizer for planted tanks. I started about, I think, almost 20 years back. Now I'm getting old. When I was a kid, it started, I think planted tanks became a bit more accessible. So you will try to construct a natural environment for the fish to grow in. As one gets deeper into the hobbies over the years, the engineering of the environment kind of became an obsession. In the earlier years, aquascaping was not so much the focus. It was more on the more biotopish setup, or the setup with like you're just trying to keep the plants alive. Today is not only do we strive to keep plants alive and growing well, but we also strive for aesthetics. It was only after year 2010 that I got a bit more serious into like the aesthetics of it. I do think that I'm known more as a plant grower than an aquascaper. So my focus is still a lot on like the science of growing difficult plants well, how to cultivate certain rare species. But the art is also something that I'm very interested in.
Okay, so we start. So this segment will be a bit more focused on aquascaping itself.
Okay.
So we just try to learn a bit more about it. But before that, I just want to ask you again about your website.
Okay.
Okay. So you mentioned it just now a little bit.
Yeah.
But tell me a bit more about like. So just tell me about it, and then when and why did you start your website?
I see. I started my website after my YouTube channel got a bit more popular. So my YouTube channel catered to slightly more advanced hobbies, I would say. And I had many people write in to say that, oh, can you do this topic, And most of the topics they requested were actually more beginner topics that I thought that there were already a lot of YouTube channels that covered it, but maybe they wanted my point of view. So I started a website as a more a broader platform. So not only did it have the more technical information for the more advanced people, but also a lot of beginner level information.
So I'm really curious, right?
Yes.
How I would say that I consider you someone who knows a lot about the hobby, right? At least when it comes to plants and all of that. And what really, like, this is a personal curiosity as well, is how do you get to that level of knowledge? For me, it's like, did you specifically study it, or is it you just experiment by yourself? There's certain particular areas you go for resources, and also does this have anything to do with your own personal background of what you studied or something?
Okay, so I studied business and law in school. In fact, even in JC, I was an art student, so I stopped taking science in secondary school basically. So it was definitely not due to a background in biology or botany or such. Even though, even as a kid, I was interested in it, but I never had a degree or like official qualification in the field. I think that to get good in a certain topic in today's world, the way is not by looking what the top, let's say 1,000 people do, but by looking at what the top 5 people do. So specifically for this field, I studied only less than 5 people, I would say. Tom Barr is one of them.
And this was purely just studying other people. Did you watch, did you turn to any other websites or sources?
I think I spent quite a bit of time in forums, but forums is a major pitfall for most people because 99% of the information there is partially correct. I would say it's wrong. I would say that about 80% of the information is just wrong. That means that people are drawing false conclusions or poor correlations from, or they are doing like self-biased confirmation.
Okay, so moving on, let's talk about the different philosophies and all of that. So from what I understand before coming to this is that there's like the Zen and then there's the Wow side.
Okay.
Right.
So you're talking about aesthetics.
Aesthetics, yeah. Let's talk about a bit of aesthetics here. So there's the Zen and the Wow side, right?
Okay.
So do you subscribe? Is this universally agreed that these are the two extremes?
No. I think that
there are many different styles.
I think that because it's an art form and it's an evolving art form, there is never great consensus on where the exact boundaries are drawn. Like some people claim that I do Dutch style tanks, but my tanks are actually hardly Dutch style if you are seriously in the technical.
Right. So describe what exactly is a Dutch style. What does it stand for?
So I think what the average person's perception of a Dutch style aquarium at its most loose definition is a tank that focuses more on plants and uses more colorful stem plants in large bunches, and that is what many people consider a Dutch style tank.
So we'll see a lot of reds and greens and different colors.
Yeah, and like large bunches of plants that is more plant focused rather than, let's say, hardscape focused, which is the opposite. But to qualify for the Dutch competition, then there's very exact ruling. So for example, the plant bunches need to be separated by actually a very small gap that is visible if you actually look at the competition tanks. And each clump must not be smaller than like a 10 by 15 cm, and you should not have a certain plant species should not be repeated more than twice, I think, in a certain tank layout. So the rules are very exact, and all 4 walls must be covered.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you cannot. That's why they use either moss or Bucephalandra. So the rules for the official Dutch competition is actually very strict. Just as if you are very strict on the Japanese Iwagumi, it has also fixed notions of having a dominant stone and then a secondary stone that complements the dominant stone and a tertiary stone that is supposed to introduce some conflict but not too much. So the rules are a lot more strict the more traditional you are. But I think for most hobbies, they kind of follow the loose formats, definition of.
So they basically just stick on the idea, but they don't stick to the rules.
Yes, and it's fine because if you're doing a tank for yourself, then you're not participating in the competition. Your rules are your own.
Right. Okay. So what about yourself? What style do you would you say you adhere to a particular philosophy or style, or is it a mix?
I think I dabble across the board. I think that the pure Dutch layouts, the rules are very strict. So unless you're doing it for competition, most people will not run their tanks in that way. It's a bit too strict and rigid for most people to do outside of competitions. I like colorful stems. I like the contrast of colors. But I think that depending on the mood that your layout wants to present, sometimes being green dominant is actually the way to go.
Right.
Yeah. I'm a fan of dioramas and having depth, the illusion of depth in the tank.
Okay, so talk to me about moods, right? You mentioned moods just now.
Okay.
What kind of different moods are there, and what plants or how do you achieve a certain mood?
I see.
Yeah.
So for example, I take the classic Iwagumi or the Zen style.
I always see only green inside.
Yeah, that's why you see mostly only green. And the rocks are not overbearing. Yeah, most of them are made such that it's kind of draw your eye into a wide horizon. The layout is supposed to be soothing and harmonious. Whereas
So would you say like
yeah.
Smaller rocks, is it?
No,
Like,
not smaller rocks, but rocks that are
Not so much
complementary.
character. Okay.
No, I would say, yeah. I mean, you can
It isn't
inject, but
sharp.
it needs to. You can inject character in the rock, but the aim is not to shock. So, for example, Japanese awagumis are rarely created with the intention to shock the viewer at first glance. But if you look at some of the modern dioramas, especially in competitions, the way it is structured is that you want to shock and awe the person with, wow, is this even physically possible to construct in a tank? So that is the feel that the design can give to a certain layout. Such as, let's say you use 50% of your plant layout, you use red plants. Immediately there's this sense of intense color, which is not zen. That's the opposite of zen.
Right.
That is intense, it forces your eye to pay attention to it. It's not something that is soothing. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So to the use, I'll say colors, contrasting shadows, even the introduction of artificial element. So for example, tanks are not supposed to have such extreme sense of depth. So when you see such extreme sense of depth in the scape, you kind of know that it's an illusion. You know that in some way you are kind of being tricked.
Okay.
So there's impact, but it's different from like a more naturalistic scape. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say that through tank design, through the use of the elements of design, depth, contrast, color, scapes can give very different sensations.
Right.
Yeah.
So just name me a few moods that are common that people like to
I think the most common mood that people strive for, actually it will be soothing. So they will try to design scapes that have more green, that have plants
It's very
in natural
calming
position.
effect.
Yes, that this provides a nice display for fish. That's why the whole nature style is popular. It's supposed to look natural, remind you of the great outdoors. But natural need not be boring. It can be like vibrant and vigorous, but it should not be like shock and awe. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
so based on what you said, I would think that something like that would be mostly just green.
Well, I'll say more green focus
Green
with
focus and nothing that stands out.
yeah, in a very artificial way. So it's more naturalistic. It's like a diorama, but with a great attention to aesthetics.
Right.
No, so not diorama. Biotope, but heavily playing on aesthetics.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think this ties in very perfectly to my next question, which is how, like, say right now I want to start an aquascape, right?
Yes.
Or when you start an aquascape,
Yes.
like, what is the thought process? Because do you decide on like, okay, I decide the mood. Is the mood the first thing you decide,
Okay.
or is it like, oh, today I want to play with this plant?
Yeah. Yeah.
Idea first, then start,
Yes.
or start first, then get the idea, see what you have.
Yeah,
and
I
the
think
idea.
it depends on the requirement of a person. So, for example, if you are someone that has a full-time job, and let's say you get a sizable house and you want a centerpiece in your tank, a centerpiece tank in your home, as let's say a divider between your kitchen and your living room. So you want something that is lower maintenance, that needs to, let's say you like it large because you want to fill that space, but you want it lower maintenance, and you don't want it to be overly distracting when you have guests. Like you want it something that is just fading into a background that looks naturalistic and low maintenance. Then maybe you'll go for a nature style or Japanese awagumi scape. But if you're someone that has a strong focus of plants, like you are a rare plant collector, then your focus will be different. You'll buy a setup that has the ability to grow colored plants well. Yeah.
Right.
So I think that it depends on the intention of the person. Also budget and access to materials. So for example, if your budget is not huge, it may be easier to go to the shop and see what you can buy for value there. So for example, if you had $200, you can't buy the heaviest stone because that will cost a lot. Maybe you will buy lava rock and you see whether you can get enough of it, and then you rely on creativity to produce a nice layout. But if you have a huge budget, then you can choose very expensive, very heavy rock, more exquisite wood, and you can almost buy the materials needed to achieve your vision, because you can go hunting for that one piece of wood. Oh, it's in China, I'll import it. So having a big budget does allow more flexibility in designing the scape.
Right.
But if you are budget conscious, then I'll say that quite often what people do is they'll go down to the shop and see what is value for money. Right. Sometimes they are very nice pieces of wood and let's say they don't cost more, it costs a lot. So you'll buy up the nice pieces and you see what kind of layout you can create from there.
Okay. And so do you have like, for someone who is like looking to like start, right?
Yeah.
So like for me also, like I look at some of your tanks and like or any other tank out there, and you look at that and you say, I want to do that.
Yes.
So what is your advice to someone like that? Should they immediately, for example, I don't have any experience,
Yes.
should I straight away attempt to replicate something that I see outside?
I see.
Or
Okay.
should I like
Okay.
accept that I
Yeah.
can't reach that level
Okay.
and do something else?
Okay, my advice is copying is actually not hard if you are conscientious about it. So copying doesn't take as much talent. All it takes is hard work, and you need to study the model that you're copying closely. But copying is something that is achievable through hard work without you being super creative or what, because like you're just doing a copy. I'll say that copying is a good way for learning, but people should copy downscale. So if you see a tank that you love that is like 6 feet, but you like the design, try copying it on a 1 feet tank. Buy the smaller materials, and you can't use the same plant because the scale is different, but you can use smaller size plant to replicate the effect. And mastering a small scale setup takes less budget, but you still practice the same like construction and perspective when you take the picture of the tank.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll advise people to start small.
Okay.
Start with 45 cm or 60 cm tank, but you can because it's cheap to buy hardscape for that size. You can definitely have enough budget to set it up as like the complex competition scapes.
Right.
Yeah, but if you try to copy it immediately on the 4 feet, you either end up wasting a lot of money, or not being able to find like matching rock and stuff because it gets costly, or you don't have the skills to build that much volume.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. What makes a good aquascape to you? Like what makes you go like this one is nicer and this one is not as nice?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's a mix of various factors. I think that you can appreciate aquascapes from a few different angles. So you can appreciate them from how well the hardscape work is done even. So for some people they are very good at hardscape. Even before it's planted, you can look at it and wow, their rock arrangement is done very well. So that's one angle of appreciation. You can appreciate how the plants are used, whether they are in terms of color contrast and the leaf shapes. It's like appreciating flower arrangement, but on rock and soil. Yeah. So you can also appreciate the health of the plants if they're grown well. I think for a good aquascape for me is a combination of all this. Although certain aquascapes may focus more strongly in one aspect. So for example, even a very very simple awagumi of let's say 5 rocks can be beautiful if the key rocks that are chosen are exquisite.
Right.
So that scape is simple because it simply wants to show off the beauty of literally the 5 pieces of rock that were chosen, and the rest of the scape is meant to fade into the background almost.
Right.
So I'll say that simplicity works in that scenario. But for another tank, maybe the guy is trying to grow a very difficult plant in a unique position to complement the scape. So I might appreciate that. Oh, it takes a lot of skill to use that plant in that position.
Right.
So there are various angles.
Yeah, you have different metrics that you go by. So some you're looking at the scale of the upkeep, and then some is the arrangement.
Yes. But if you're asking me to like what makes a good aquascape as a judge, because I've been on judging panels as well,
right.
then there will be a kind of almost checklist of criteria, like use of composition. And most of these are photography, so you look at the photograph in a 2-dimensional view, whether the composition is well done, is the ratio of open versus planted stays well, does it have a sense of dimensional depth, does it achieve its intended effect. So let's say if you're doing a diorama and you intend to shock and awe with this very dramatic arrangement, does it look artificial? So I would say that for competition judging, then there is a criteria checklist that the judges will agree on when they look at the submissions.
Okay. Talk to me more about when you mentioned ratio. So ratio, I get what you're saying is that there's some areas that are not so planted and then there's more open, right?
So then, I think that
is there a ratio to shoot for? Is there a golden ratio?
No, I think that there is. It depends on how you want to use it. So for example, if you want your scape to be overbearing, right? If you want your scape to be overbearing, use 80% red plants. Right. So that is a way to induce the feeling that my tank is meant to overwhelm you with color. So it's a bit like my farm tank. Right. It's not meant to be soothing. Yeah, it's kind of meant to shock and awe with color, to overwhelm with, whoa, these are very vibrant red plants. It's more to show a methodology. The intention is not to be aesthetically soothing. It's meant to be a bit shocking. Yeah, so that was the intention. But if you are going for something soothing, you might want actually a bit more open space so that the eyes can breathe, so that the elements don't look too cluttered. There's a nice space for the fish to swim into. There's a horizon line. These are things that induce feelings that is soothing. Yeah.
So is there a rough range of the ratio? Are we talking like 50-50?
I think it depends on how it's used as well. That's why I think as an art form.
So it's very hard to define it down, is it?
Yeah, it's a method. It's always relative.
Right.
Yeah, because sometimes small spaces can carry a much bigger significance than their actual like area that they occupy in the tank, right? Just like like even a spot of intense color can be very significant rather than big patches of pale color, right? So I think it involves a lot of relative judgment, and that is partly where the beauty of the art form lies. Is in there's nothing that is set in stone. Kind of how you use the various elements of design to induce what is your intention as an artist.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So final question is, make it super simple for someone who like don't even think about the advanced or the mid people. Okay, like just really beginners, first time starting a planter tank, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us, and I consider myself one of those, was like, you see all these nice scapes, right? You see all these nice scapes, like, oh, it's nice. But then when we actually like get all the equipment, like we're just overwhelmed with like there's so many. I don't know what to do. So what is one tip that can immediately like anyone can apply? You know, it's not so not advanced thing, but something that I can. Okay, I'll just for my first scape, I'll bear this in mind. I'll do this, and then it will look better than if I didn't take this.
I'll say that my simplest tip is the combination of use soil and grow easy plants, because soil compensates for a lot of other things like nutrient dosing. It's a bait for bacteria. It balances out a lot of things that otherwise the hobbies will have to tune themselves. So I'll say that with today modern aqua soils, having a planter tank with soil is always easier. So even the many experienced aquascapers, they are very good at design, but they are terrible at growing plants. So their escape route is that they use aqua soil. Yeah. So use soil and grow easy plants. Again, I think for newbies, they don't realize that aquatic plants, the range of what is easy to difficult is tremendous. It's tremendous. And if you focus on the easy species, they are cheap to get, easy to grow, success rate is high. So for example, if you plant crepes in soil, almost with any tap water in the world, that will kind of work. Even with a mediocre light, because even on ambient light, some of them will grow. So the combination of easy plants, use soil, a very strong baseline to start with.
Okay, so this is a bit goes against what I know, because for me, what I've always thought is that soil, it makes it easier to grow plants, but I thought overall it makes it harder, because what I understand is that when you first put in, you're dealing with an excess of nutrients, right? That will go in.
Then there comes soil selection. That applies very heavily to specifically the brand 88 Aqua Soil. 88 Aqua Soil is the richest soil on the market, spiked heavily with ammonia. So it has a long cycling process. If you don't cycle, your fish die, your plants melt, this and that. You can just use another brand like Tropica or Protibio, which almost any other aqua soil in the market is much leaner. You should still cycle it for about a week or two. Then you plant your plants. Then after 3 weeks, you add fish. It's not difficult, I would say.
Okay, so during this 1 week or 2 where you're cycling, do you need to constantly change water?
No. Okay, so if you want to be super optimal, your water should be, I would say, near neutral. So if it's super acidic, you spike it with KH, increasing materials. It should be warm, so that bacteria multiply fast. And your ammonia shouldn't be higher than 2 parts per million, because above that it actually harms the nitrification process. But if you're using a lean aqua soil, none of the variables will spike. Only most specifically for ADA. So literally, if you are using Singapore water, buy any non-ADA aqua soil, just leave it for 2 weeks, and you plant easy plants. If you have a silver light, overall the system works.
And one tip for aesthetics.
one tip for aesthetics.
I mean, it could be something that is skewed towards one style over the other, but more or less something that is more universal. Anyone can apply. Starting out, it might seem very basic to you, but I think a lot of people, like I say, when we are overwhelmed, we have so many. We bought all these rocks, we see all these things, and then suddenly we look at our tank, and we're like, okay, what do I do now?
I think many beginners kind of have the notion that more is better. So they try to look for complexity to increase the aesthetics of the tank. But I think that actually the reverse direction is true. Working with a fewer elements but paying more attention to how they are placed sometimes work out better.
Right.
Yeah. So even if you look at many of the top aquascaping works, they may use like 5 species of moss and that's all they use. Okay, but that's a bit different because they are hardscape focused.
Yeah.
But I would say that the dealing with more species tend to make things look messier for most folks.
Okay.
Yeah, so actually using non-stem plants, rhizome plants and plants that grow in bunches like crypts, easy plants, and paying more attention to their arrangement rather than increasing the number of species tends to work out better.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the simple tip is we're gonna use soil, easy to grow plants, and then we stick to fewer species.
Yes.
And fewer species and things that are not so non-stem plants. So things like crypts,
cryptocorynes,
anubias,
Java fern. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Dennis, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
If you guys made it this far into the video, then definitely give me a thumbs up because that really does help the video do better. Subscribe if not already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.